Okay, so with Photoshop open, we're going to go ahead and create a new file. We want our file size to be 1920 by 1050, I believe. We can double check here, or 1080 on our rendering size that we took. And this one I'm going to keep on pixels instead of inches because that's what the measurement was for the quality here. And then resolution, we're going to put it at 300 for a high quality image. Perfect. We got transparent background. We're going to click here and say Farnsworth house exterior render. And then I'm going to say PS for Photoshop. We're going to click create. We can see our file structure is open. We'll go to file, open, and then we're going to click here on our PNG. And then you can see here it opened and our background is transparent. You can see our shadow below is semi-transparent, which is really nice. So now what we're going to do is put in our background image. So I'm going to say file, place embedded. And I'm going to go to my Adobe stock image here. Okay. So I'm going to stretch this to be larger, and then I'm going to move this to be on top here. Okay. So now what we can do is just take this layer 1 and start to move it around. Make it a bit smaller, like so. Okay, and there's our Farnsworth house placed into this environment. For this section, I'm going to be using a custom brush set that I've downloaded. I'm going to share that in the module for you guys. So quickly, to upload this new brush set, so we have a grass texture, you can see to ground this image. I'm going to press my shortcut B for brush, or click here. And then I'm going to click over here on this folder here at the top. So once this is open, I'm going to click here to brushes instead of brush settings. And we can see here is a list of all the brushes that I have. So this bottom set here is the one that you're going to upload. It has a lot of nice textures. It has clouds. Here, if I go and I have this layer selected, see I can start painting clouds in here. Here's the grass texture that we're going to use to paint. There's also things like, let's see, there's some scale figures. It's really tiny, so it'll obviously have to get bigger. There's also birds in here somewhere that you could use if you want to flourish your drawings. Here's birds. So we could put some birds up here in the sky if you wanted to as well. So to upload this file set, we're going to click on these 4 lines over here, and this new menu is going to pop up. I'm going to go down here to import brushes, and then it's going to open up. It's going to want to be an ABR file, which is what you're downloading from modules. So we're going to navigate to our class folder, and then you'll click here onto this file type and push upload. And once you do so, these brushes are going to appear in your brush panel. So you can start messing around with those. You can see there's a lot of different foliage ones that you can start to add texture. Feel free to play around with them if you want. If you want to add scale people, if you want to add birds, whatever, feel free. You can see it feels, a little uncanny, a little off. So what we're going to do is get in here and we're going to ground it better to the ground here. So what we want to do is create a mask layer for this layer here. So layer 1, we're going to change this name to Farnsworth. Just like in Rhino, we want to make sure we have organized and structured layers. So I'm going to say background here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to paint these edges to look like this grass is popping up over it. So what I want to do that is select Farnsworth House, and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select this icon here, and it's going to put a mask over this layer. So now if I pressed B for my shortcut for paintbrush. For some reason it's huge. I'm going to make it smaller. Okay, so here's our paintbrush tool. And typically if you had, let's say we had the normal layer selected instead of our clipping mask, and we paint, it's going to paint a color, right? But if we select this clipping mask, it's going to start erasing the image above for what's underneath. And that's because we have black selected over here. So you can see if I press this button here and change white, it's going to bring back the image that was below that we started erasing. So we can use this tool to start erasing here to make this a little more grounded. What I'm going to do is zoom in here, and I'm going to press on B for my brush tool. You can also find it here, this icon. I'm going to click this folder up here for my brush types. Okay, so you may have a pop-up menu. Mine popped up over here. And here you can start selecting different brush types. I believe this one is some kind of organic. You can come in here. All of these options are a little overwhelming. For now, I'll just have you select one. Let's see. I have a grass right here. Number 127 is grass. And so what I'm going to do is, again, change the size, because right now it's huge. You can see. I'm going to go up here, click down, and I'm going to change my size to probably about 10 pixels. Perfect. And then I can start clicking here, and we can see that it's going to ground that column into that ground and have that similar texture to grass. Perfect. And then I'm just going to do the same here. For these ones back here, I want to actually use a paintbrush to match this color because they're in the shadows technically. The grass is in the shadow. So what I'm going to do is go back to my layers, click down here. I'm going to click off of this clipping mask and click on to this image here. That way I'm actually painting onto the image. And I'm going to, I think it's still doing it. Oh, it's still selected it. Okay, there we go. Select onto here, and then it'll paint onto the image. So I can do that, or what I can do to color match, I can press I, which is going to grab this eyedropper tool here. I'm going to click on this color, and we can see, oh, I don't know why it keeps, you need to really make sure you're selected on the right thing. For some reason, it keeps switching over. Bring this up. So I have this selected, and I want to select this color. And then we can look over here and see that it actually grabbed that dark green color that's happening right there with the grass. So when I press B, it still has this layer selected. And now this color is selected instead of black. I can come in and start using that color here. Okay. So it is subtle, but we can see it already feels much more planted and grounded into the scene. It really is those little subtle differences. So now we need to mess with the color because right now the hues and saturations of these two things are not working together. So what we're going to do is select our Farnsworth house again, and we're going to go down here to options. And this is going to be a color adjustment layer that we're going to add. Okay. I like to start out with curves. So what this is this graph where you can really start to push and pull colors. What I'm going to do, as you can see right now, is affecting all of the layers, the background as well. What I'm going to do is click this button here that's going to cap it off and only allow it to affect this Farnsworth layer. You can see this little arrow appeared. So now when I start messing with this, you can see it's only the house itself that's being affected. I'm not going to change it much. I'm going to pull it a bit so the brightness is matching here. And then what I'm also going to do is do a curves adjustment on this bottom layer as well. Make it a little darker. Okay. What I'm really looking out for is that these shadows here match the shadows here. And ideally, the brights would match the brights here, which they aren't doing much for us. I think our shadows look pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my Farnsworth house layer again. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to, let's say, brightness and contrast. And then here you can see I can start to drag this brightness here and how much contrast. Since this image back here is very high contrast, I'm going to drag this up a bit more. And then we might keep brightness at 0 and try a different command because I don't really like what that's doing. The contrast being up, I do like though, helping ground it in this image. Okay, select it again. And then this time, let's go to hue and saturation. So this one, we can start messing with lightness and contrast. Probably not going to mess with those though. I'm going to press Control Z to undo that. What I want to change is the hue here. It's a very, let's see. So our image is very orange. See, when I pull it over into the blues, it starts to match more of the greens and yellows that are going on. I can turn the saturation up to make it a bit brighter. These kind of things take time to master. We're doing some color theory with this one. Okay, and what we can always do too, it's really handy. Let's say we are unsure if this even looks better with this image right now. What we can do is turn off this adjustment layer that we did, and we can start to compare, basically, which one looked better, the before or after. I'm going to leave that off for now, and then let's do a hue and saturation edit on this background image. And if we pull the saturation down of this image, maybe that helps more so than matching it. It is a very saturated background. Okay, so that's already looking much better. You can see. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one here. And then let's see. For the entire image together, I think I want to edit now. I'm going to go back to my curves here. but I'm going to pull it up here to this top layer, and then I'm going to turn this off so it's going to affect both layers. And I'm going to pull our brightness up a bit. It doesn't look so dull. Okay. Help brighten the image. Okay. Now I'm going to add in some entourage. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get a tree file ready so that we can add a tree into this image as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is use this same oak tree from Project 6. What I'm going to do is upload this version. If you worked on your own, you can use that as well. You can use that tutorial from the last video to create your own entourage for this video as well. If you want to have some more creative freedom. So I'm going to say File and then Place Embedded. And then I'm going to select our oak tree. Perfect. Okay. So let's say I want this. I want this to be more in the foreground. So we're going to place it here and we're going to make it about this size. Maybe a bit smaller. Perfect. And we're going to place it right here. So it starts obscuring what's going on in the background here with our Farnsworth house. I'm going to press done. And then what we need to do, similarly to what we did with the Farnshouse paintbrush, is fit this in to this environment here. Okay, so I'm going to say brush. First, we have to rasterize this. You can see this little icon here on this image. That means the image isn't rasterized, which means you can't, it's a smart object. It must be rasterized. What rasterizing means is it's no longer vector. So when you scale it up and down now, it's going to lose quality. Whereas before, it's basically just very easily scalable without losing quality. So we're going to say, okay, and now it's rasterized. That's one of the cons to working within Photoshop, honestly, is it automatically rasterizes things. That's why Illustrator's always best for line weights and things like that. So we're going to do the same technique as before. We're going to add our mask here. And then I want to have my black and white over here for the addition and subtraction, like we saw before. And so we want it to be black for subtraction. I'm just going to come in here with that grass paintbrush and start kind of digging into this a little bit. Okay. We'll zoom out and see how believable that looks. We definitely need more of a shadow going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come back in and I'm going to be a little more liberal with getting rid of the shadow here that's prefixed. And I'm going to create our own shadow to place under this. You can use this same technique I'm about to show you for entourage if you want to have some people in your rendering, but they just feel not grounded in the space. As you can see here, The tree looks fine. It looks like it belongs. It's just the ground gets a little bit uncanny. We can see what the shadows are doing with these trees back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this tree. You can see here I have this first box selected here on this layer. I'm going to say copy and paste. All right. So after I kind of deleted that bit of the trunk here, I'm going to, oops, I didn't want to drag that. I'm going to use this AI command that we have now. And when I have this layer selected, I have the tree here selected. I'm just going to say select subject. And this should pick up all of our tree. Perfect. And then what I'm going to do is use my brush tool. Layer selected. I'm going to go ahead and paint the shadow layer that I want to add. I'm just going to paint it the same green color. You could also just go ahead and paint it black if you liked. We're going to say deselect, and now we have kind of a amorphous shape. So now what we're going to do is scale it and place it. Okay. So I'm going to take this top dragging tool, holding shift. It's going to let me start to squish the shape down. And if I pass down this bottom, you can see it's actually going to flip it upside down. So we're going to do that. We're going to align the trunk here like so. I'm going to squish the shape a bit more. And then I'm actually going to rotate it so it looks like it's kind of moving with that hill a bit. And then I'm also going to make it a little bit smaller this direction as well. Okay. So now we have the shape that can be our shadow, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the opacity first of all. Let's say 50%. No, we'll go 90. Maybe 80. Yep, 80 looks good. And then I'm also going to take this layer itself and put it underneath our tree so it starts to pass underneath it. You can see there we have a pretty simple shadow that was created for this tree. Let's say I actually don't like the green. I want it to be black. That way we can play with the opacity a bit more. So what I'm going to do is select the shape again. And then I'm going to say select subject and see if it works with the shape modified like so. Looks like it did. And so now I'm going to use my brush tool with this shadow layer selected and black selected. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint that. Perfect. Say deselect. And now I can turn this opacity down so that grass comes through a bit more. So let's turn it down to 50 now and see what that looks like. That looks much better. Okay, perfect. Okay, so there we have a pretty believable shadow for that tree now. We'll turn it down even lower, 40%. Perfect. Okay, so there is our added entourage. I think what I'm going to do as well is move our Farnsworth house to be less in the middle. That looks better. And you can see as this moves, that clipping mask moves as well. So that paintbrush effect we did here at the bottom moves along with this object. That's kind of the beauty of using these masks. It makes your drawing easier to edit later. Okay, so that's going to be our final drawing for you to turn in. You're welcome to add any more entourage you want, any more detail you want. Always welcome. If you want to make your own entourage, go for it. But from here, what I'm going to have us do is save the file with the naming convention in the assignment sheet, and you'll turn it in and you'll be good to go.